Ah, Clive. Just the man I was hoping to see.
Oh? And why is that?
You remember how some of Sir Wade's guardians took up residence here after the Akashic attacked? Well, now the rest have come to join him. Seems their barracks in the Lazarus have been lost to an ether flood. Now, I don't mind having a few more brave boys around to keep them animals at bay. I ain't daft after all. But we ain't got nowhere for 'em to bed down. Poor buggers are having to make do with haylofts and chocobo pens. I'd build 'em a new barracks here if I could. But where would I put 'em? There just ain't enough room up here on the rock. Which leaves us in a bit of a pickle. The people we're counting on to keep us safe are living like beggars.
I see.
And it ain't just that lot. There's bears to think about too. There's been more and more of them turning up lately, coming from all over looking for safe haven. But there's only so many we can shelter with the room we've got. We can't keep cramming more and more people into less and less space. What we need is a new home for our new arrivals. And that's what I was hoping you might help me with. If it ain't too much of a burden, of course.
It's no burden.
Thank you, Clive.
So, where were you thinking of making this new home?
Well, I reckon we could do a lot worse than Eastpool.
Eastpool. It's been a long time since I thought about that place.
It was a tragedy, what happened. And if any of us could have done anything to stop it, we would have. But what's done is done. And those who lived there wouldn't have wanted the village they loved to be left in ruins.
I suppose you're right.
The blight might be pressing in, but I reckon it's got a good few years left in it yet. There's just one problem. A band of cutthroats have made it their den, and they don't seem like they'll be moving on in a hurry. Nasty bastards they are too. I've lost some good men to their raids. Would have sent someone to clear 'em out sooner if my boys didn't already have their hands full fending off the Akashic. But now we've got a few more guardians of the flame to call on. I reckon it's time we made our move. What do you say? Fancy leading a raiding party?
I do. Eastpool was once home to people I loved. I won't have bandits sully those memories. I'll gladly drive them out of there.
And I know the men will gladly follow you. I've already shared a few thoughts with Sir Wade about how we might be able to win the place back. And I dare say he's got some ideas of his own too. Why don't you go and talk to him?
Of course. All right, Sir Wade. Let's hear your plan. Sir Wade, it's good to see you well.
And you, Lord Rossfield. And you.
I spoke with Martha. She tells me you have plans to free Eastpool and make it your own.
That's right, though it was mostly her idea. I rather fear my men have been treading on her toes somewhat since joining us, not to mention each other's. And then there are the bearers, men and women who found the courage to flee their masters and sought refuge here. We need somewhere to settle them, and I can think of worse places than Eastpool.
As can I. Which is why I agreed to help you win it back.
That's very kind of you. I'd be most grateful if you would. With you beside us, we shall soon send that rabble of rogues running for the hills.
So, what can you tell me?
That thankfully there aren't too many of them. Fewer than a dozen at our last count. And rather less, thankfully. The road that leads there will more than likely still be crawling with Akashic. A small force would suffice to clear the village, but if the Akashic were to follow them in, that force could end up trapped between a rock and a very hard place indeed.
I'll head into Eastpool and deal with the bandits. You and the Guardians can stay outside the village and fend off any Akashic who come too close. Make sure I'm not taken unawares.
I can't ask you to bear all that risk yourself, my lord.
The Akashic are the bigger risk. I can handle a few bandits.
Well, if you're sure, I shall summon my men at once.
Shall I wait for you here?
No need, my lord. You go on ahead. We'll be with you before long.
All right. I'll meet you at Eastpool then.
We shall see you there. And may victory await our coming.
can just walk in here, kill him.
You will leave Eastpool now, or face the consequences. That's the end of that, then. Or maybe not. What's that thing doing here? Doesn't matter. It goes too. Kill! Any more surprises? I'll take that as a no.
Bravo. A magnificent display, my lord.
You were watching? I thought you were keeping an eye out for a Kashik.
We were. Put down more than a few on the road, then arrived just in time to see you slay that... whatever it was.
Let's hope it was the last of its kind. Though I expect you and the Guardians will be up to the challenge should another appear.
I would hope so, my lord.
Your men will be bringing the bearers who'll be living here, I assume. It might be best to send word for them to come right away, before any other unsavory characters move in.
Of course. I'll send orders for them to depart immediately. Leave it with me, my lord.
Home. Without masters.
No. We're the masters now. Our lives are our own at last.
That's all of them. And not a single Akashek in sight. Now to begin the important work of rebuilding the place. It won't be easy. Especially not after 5 years of beasts and blackguards having their wicked way with the place. The masonry might still be sturdy enough, but half the beams are rotted. Those that weren't lost in the fire or burned by the bandits, that is. It'll take a bit of elbow grease, but we'll see Eastpool rise again. Just you wait.
So wait. Lady Hannah is buried here. If you don't mind, I'd like Oscar to join the rebuilding efforts. He should be a part of this.
Of course. I couldn't agree more.
I'll let Martha know that everyone arrived safely. If you need anything more, you have only to send a Stolas.
And we will, my lord. Safe travels.
Eastpool is in safe hands. Time to go and tell Martha the good news.
How do? Much obliged.
Ah, there you are. All went well then. Sir Wade told me you got rid of the bandits while his lot kept an eye out. Nicely done. And what's all this about some shape-shifting nightmare showing up? On second thoughts, don't tell me. It'll only give me nightmares of me own. What matters is you did it, and now we can build our new village.
I suppose it will be. What will you call it?
What else? Eastpool. Sir Wade said it best. There's plenty bad happened to that place, but that don't undo the good that happened there. No need to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Did Wade say that?
Well, something along those lines. Anyway, the poor souls might have made it to Eastpool, but their work ain't done yet. So the way I see it, neither is mine. If it's food or lumber or strong backs they need, the rest is ready to provide it.
Thank you, Martha.
No, thank you. You didn't have to help us.
I wanted to.
Clive, we weren't expecting you.
I wasn't expecting to be here, but it seems we still owe you a considerable amount of coin for your help with our rebuilding efforts. And though I doubt it's what you were expecting, we were hoping you'd take this as payment.
A star ruby? I can't accept this. It's worth at least twice what you owe me. More if you can find yourself the right buyer.
Think of the difference as interest.
Interest? If word got out I charged that much, no one would ever borrow from me again. Anyway, why are you the one here asking me about this? I'd have expected Otto. Bit much sending the Lord Marquis out to settle your debts, isn't it? The old goat working himself to death again?
Something like that. Most days I think he's the only reason the hideaway's still standing.
Same as always, eh? Back when the place was nothing but a twinkle in the eye of a recently retired Lord Commander, word is he was the first one Sid reached out to. Probably knew that without his strong arm and level head, the idea would never get off the ground. Sid may have been the face of the hideaway, but Otto's always been the backbone. And when Sid passed away, we were all worried that would be the end of it. That Otto would just give up.
His death was hard on everyone. But it must have hit Otto hardest of all.
But he didn't give up, did he? Quite the opposite, in fact. If I recall, he was the one who nominated you as Sid's replacement, and rallied the rest around you. I reckon what he saw in Sid, he saw in you too. And don't we all? Doesn't hurt that you're half as stubborn and twice as handsome, neither. That, and you keep good company.
I suppose I do.
I got peppers to numb your tongue.
There were ghosts at the gates not days ago. Those things I said before.
Milady, I come bearing gifts.
Gifts? Whatever is the occasion. Oh my. Clive, you really have outdone yourself.
Otto asked me to give it to you. To settle the Hideaway's debt with the Veil. And to compensate you for the time it took us to do so.
You disappoint me, Clive. I thought you might finally be warming to me. Tell Otto he can keep his baubles. I tried to tell him as much the first time around. The man owes me nothing, nor does the Hideaway. My contribution to the restoration effort was made freely and willingly. It was the least I could do.
You once told me Sid did you a kindness. I'd like to do the same. Please, accept it. For my sake. And for Otto's. For all of us. For all you've done.
It is rather fetching, isn't it? Very well. Otto is lucky to have you, Clive. I doubt anything could ever replace his son. But you and the others at the Hideaway are the closest thing he has to family.
Otto had a son.
Long ago, yes. Sid told me Otto lost him when he was just a boy, and blamed himself for not being able to stop it. I don't know how it happened, whether there was anything he could have done, but it was clear that it weighed heavily on him.
I didn't know.
How could you have? I doubt anyone did. Besides Sid, I've never met a man more keen to bear his sorrows in stoic silence. An ill habit, given that both have always been surrounded by friends desperate to help them.
I'm beginning to see that. Go will want to know the stones were delivered. If he's still with us.
Paul said it was an army of Akash.
Goat. Still alive, I see. So Lady Karen accepted the ruby.
About that, I tried my best, but she was just too stubborn to take it. She threw it right back in my face, in fact, and told me I could stick my stupid stone where the sun don't shine.
Karen refused payment.
I hope it wasn't something I said.
I'm sure you were as tactful as ever. Let me see what I can do.
Wonderful. I hope you have better luck than I did.
Lady Karen, Goad tells me you weren't happy with our offer. Would you prefer the debt was repaid in coin?
What debt? I don't recall lending any of you lot me hard-earned gil. I may have tossed a talent or two in the Hideaway's coffers, but those were donations, and you can hardly call it charity if you go asking for it back.
Of course not. But one good turn deserves another. And our circumstances have changed. Surely you wouldn't shun the gratitude of a pauper who happened to have become a prince.
Oh, so you're a prince now, are you? Fine. But I'm selling it and taking what I'm owed, then you're getting the rest whether you like it or not. Where'd you even get this? A decent trader might nab 1,000 talents for a star ruby. A canny one, meanwhile, might claim it were nicked from the belt of Sid the Outlaw himself and ask twice as much. Might be I already have a buyer in mind. Might be you even know her. The fine continental maid whose beauty's only eclipsed by a guile in commerce. You wouldn't mind, would you?
Not at all. Just be sure to tell her that it's always a pleasure doing business.
I hear you ended up delivering all 3 stones. Thanks to this lump. I sometimes wonder what I pay you for.
Speaking of which, I still haven't been paid last month's wages.
Oh, so you remember what's owed to you then? Get your ass behind that disc of yours and don't get up before those ledgers are square.
Right away.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. Plenty of times. It was the only goblet Sid ever used. Either out of habit, or because the filthy sod couldn't be bothered to find a clean one.
I knew so little about him.
Like most people.
Martha and the Dame both seem to have fond memories of him.
I bet they do.
How long did you know Sid before he...
Before he died. 20 summers, give or take. Back in the day, I was a purser on a trade ship, which is where I met him. He bought passage to... forget where. But having nothing better to do on the long nights, we sat up drinking island rum till the morning bell dragged me back to my duties. Quit my post not long after that. On account of making a fine maiden's belly fat. But me and Sid stayed close, promising we'd one day sail the seas again. That was before fate stepped in and said she was having none of it. The magic woke inside my son soon after his first name day, and there was no hiding his knack.
Couldn't you and your family have...
My family were the ones who summoned the constable, wanted the monster taken away. I couldn't turn my back on him, forget what I felt, and I couldn't for the life of me understand how they could. Luckily, Sid was of the same mind as me. It was him who stood beside me when all I wanted was to tear the whole world down. Him who cried for me when I had no tears left of my own. Him who swore he'd do everything he could to stop it from happening again. And he was true to his word, too. Left the Royal Army once and for all. His ranks, his ribbons, gone. Just like that. Threw away everything he had. All to right a wrong that no one else had the courage to face. I knew then I'd follow that man to the ends of the earth. He was always too clever for his own good, was Sid. Saw the world for what it really was, while the rest of us were content to go along with the lie we were shown. And it can't have been easy, bearing that burden alone. But he didn't let it stop him. He never lost faith in what he believed was right. And that gave us faith in him. Faith he'd steer us true. So I swore to myself that I'd always be right behind him, ready to catch the stubborn sod, if ever he should fall. But I couldn't even do that. Ignore me. Just the ramblings of a tired old man. Leave that lot. I'll tidy it up in a bit.
This is Sid's handwriting. Dear Otto.
I may be drunk, but I wanted you to know this place would be fucked without you. Love you, you grumpy old sod.
This note.
What about it?
Sid was right. Without you, we'd all be lost.
He should have bloody well said so then. Just once. Before he went. But then, why would he? Him, or anyone? I'd only have told him to piss off. You're wrong, though. Both of you. It was never just me keeping the hideaway afloat. It was all of us. I just shoved people in the right direction, and I barely seem to be able to do that anymore.
Would you rather go at the helm?
Well, maybe I've got a few more years left in me.
I'm going to hold you to that, Otto.
Before you go, Sid would have wanted you to have this.
But that's...
This'll do me just fine. Thanks for the ray of sunshine. I'll see if I can't pay you back.
Already have.